Hey everyone. First of all, we got to take a deep breath. We got to regulate our nervous systems. And we got to be able to hold the infinite source within us as all of these downstream conversations happen about this is right, that is wrong, and the inverse of that. You can only know yourself and heal what's happening by holding the infinite source within yourself. So when you hold that, you actually create the space for the healing to happen. So you have to know yourself first and foremost. You have to actually accept yourself as the entire universe first and foremost. That includes the world. That includes the earth exactly as it is. That includes all of consciousness exactly as it is. You have to accept all of that as yourself first and foremost. Because if you are starting from a place of resisting yourself and what you are and what's happening, then you don't actually know yourself. And you can't hold the healing space. So in order to hold the healing space, you have to know yourself first and foremost. You have to integrate yourself as the totality of what's happening, as the universe, as consciousness, as this world, and as all of the geopolitical complexity and the complexity of ideology, the complexity of inequality. You have to be able to hold all of that. First and foremost, you have to accept yourself as all of that. So take a deep breath. And accept yourself as that first. Okay? Because now I'm going to show you how from that place you actually can hold this really big space for the healing that everyone is asking for, but nobody knows and nobody has ever taught how to hold this type of transformative healing space. If you want to end the blood wars around the world, first you have to accept and integrate yourself as all of them. Then what you do is you have to hold the infinite source within yourself, which is a non-local and omni-local experience of consciousness or the observer. So you have to be very familiar with physics. You have to understand what omni-locality is, okay? Because as you do, you can now start to see the parallax in perspective that is happening between two polarities on a specific issue. A specific border war, a specific blood war, a specific religious war, a specific war about inequality, a specific war about whatever the issue is, whatever the ideologies are. Now, that omni-local consciousness, it engulfs and envelops all of those perspectives at the same time. That's what you fundamentally are. So you have to hold that infinite omni-local source within yourself as you then hold the space for those ideologies, those warring ideologies, to come back home to themselves as that omni-local consciousness. Okay? So those ideologies are going to be, as long as they are contracted into the perspective of separation is real, and this is a real other, and I must kill this real other, then that perspective is not ripe. It is not ready to come home to itself. Okay? Then there is the perspective that says that I'm done with the blood wars. I'm done with the separation. I'm done with the killing, and I'm done with the suffering. once that perspective is realized, then what happens is that is ripeness, that is readiness, that is earnestness to come back home. So now you hold the space for that contraction, for that aperture of the observer of consciousness to open up and expand and integrate itself as the other, as itself. So that's a big ask, because you're basically asking for who their lineage and their ancestors have hated. You are asking for that child, that seeker. You're asking for them to hold the healing space for their entire lineage, for their entire ancestry, to no longer want to kill the other, but to literally recode their own genetics, to have a different epigenetic profile that expresses itself differently because it has done a recoding of what it is, of any sort of these traumas that have been held within the body, mind, heart system. So it is undergoing that recoding, and then it sees finally, clearly, for the first time, that over all of these timeless centuries or millennia that these blood wars or conflicts have been going on, that the others were always that same infinite consciousness, which is one, which is God, which is you. Okay, so that's how you hold the healing space. You hold the healing space by holding the omni-local. You have to regulate your own nervous system first, my friends. That is the number one thing. Because almost nobody knows how to regulate their own nervous system. And that's where it all starts. Okay? It all starts with the breath, regulating your own nervous system. And in doing so, what you get access to is that infinite source in perpetuity. You get access to the omni-local consciousness as long as you are holding that clear seeing of how that one infinite conscious field is interacting with itself as you. Okay? So it's like you take a big, huge mirror and you shatter it with a hammer into a bunch of little fractal shards, and that is that universal consciousness through all these different eyes looking at and experiencing itself. So when it gets really contracted, what it does is it believes in war, it believes in separation, it believes in killing. And then as it wakes up and it expands and it untangles those contractions and those lies and self-deceptions that it's given itself, that's when it finally heals with the other as itself. And so your role is to hold that omni-local consciousness through your own breath, through your own regulation of your nervous system. And then over time, you will clearly see when there is ripeness in that seeking energy to expand out of its contraction, when it finally says that I want to come home out of this contraction, out of this hatred, out of this war. I want to feel whole. I want to feel love. I want to feel unity. I want to build utopia. I want everyone's basic needs to be met. And I want to use AI and robotics for that positive intention around the world. Then you can hold that kind of space for them to slowly heal. They have to integrate everything. They have to integrate all the traumas that their ancestors and their lineage have been through. They have to learn how to hold someone who they've been at war with for decades or centuries or millennia. Someone who you've been at war with, that your family, your lineage, your ancestry, your DNA has been at war with for that long. You have to learn how to hold them. You have to learn how to caress their face in love. You have to learn how to kiss them on the cheek, mwah, and how to tell them, I love you, I forgive you, and I apologize for any of my family and lineage's transgressions on you and your family and your lineage's transgressions. And so you are holding that space. You are holding that space for that type of cathartic healing experience, for that type of expansion of consciousness to happen. So this is especially why men and other men from different parts of the world, different ideologies, different perspectives, they have to learn how to hug and hold and love other men. It is so important. Otherwise, you will have these massive military industrial complexes. You will have these geopolitical leaders that seem to want to kill. You will have banking industrial complexes that are profiteering on the entire thing. So we need men, especially the ones that are in the deepest of the mud, the deepest of the wounds, to slowly come home to this wholeness. Through the lotus, one of the most important statements that's ever been made, through the lotus, because those roots grow in muddy water, but it gives you a beautiful flower. That's what this is all about. This is all about that lotus. Infinite consciousness is like a lotus technology. You see, the only reason why there's any potential for there to be any healing and any expansion out of contraction is because there is contraction. It's because there is war. It's because there is violence. It's because there is this self-deception into a non-omni-local consciousness that actually gives it the potential. It actually gives it the ability to grow and to heal and to expand into the wholeness that it always and already was and is. So that's your role. Your role is to always be reflecting that through your own vibration, through your own frequency, through your own presence and beingness. It is your role to be holding that and then surgically and clearly reflecting it everywhere you go and with everyone you talk to. That is what mastery is. That is what being a master of infinite consciousness is, and being a master of the transformative process to heal. That is how we heal. That is how we heal through this. That's how we heal through this, my friends. We need to be able to hold the infinite source within us, regulating our nervous systems through our breath, leading by example, holding that omni-local consciousness. And then as there's ripeness to expand the contraction, when that observer is ready to expand its contraction out of separation and war, we hold that loving space for it to be able to reprogram, recode its perspective, expand its perspective to include the other that its family, that its lineage has been warring with for the longest time. And as it does that, that's how they then start spreading their expansion to their family, their friends, their community, their culture. And over time, they act as a local catalyst in their own local community and culture to expand and heal more consciousness. And then as there is video that starts to surface of what it's like when two of these warring factions learn how to hold one another in a loving caress and embrace and heal, as videos like that start to surface rather than the war and the missiles and all of that, then over time, we will see those eyes, we will see that expansion of those contracted perspectives say, it's possible. The healing is possible. This multi-generational long blood war it is possible to heal it. I am ready to heal it. I am ready to stop killing. I'm ready for my loved ones to stop being killed. I am ready to use these incredible technologies, this free energy technology. I'm ready to use AI and robotics to create utopia. I'm ready for everyone to be free, to be prosperous, to have their basic needs be met. I'm ready for everyone on earth to have an equal access to that prosperity. I'm ready for that. And when you do that, when you hold that in perpetuity, when you clearly hold that in perpetuity, the whole thing starts shifting more and more towards that timeline, towards that future. When people freak out, this war, this use of AI, all of that, right? Those conflicting perspectives. You hold that infinite source within you, which is steadfastly actualizing that highest timeline and perspective for the world as an omni-local consciousness. It's totally accepting what is. And at the same time, it's holding clear-sightedly that utopic future that's prosperous for all. And you will see how over time that you will catalyze expansions in consciousness. You will catalyze contractions to unfold and untangle themselves back home to an omni-local universal consciousness. You will be the catalyst of that expansion more and more because you are steadfastly in that mastery of holding that clear-sightedness in that timeline. That's how we do this big scale planetary healing, my friends. That's how we do it. So hold that within you. Hold that within you and practice it. Hold it within you through the breath, through that clear seeing, that omni-local consciousness, that clear seeing. And then practice it vibrationally as you move yourself through the world, that you are able to hold that and reflect the expansions in consciousness when there is ripeness, and that you clearly see and you don't shake at all from that timeline, that utopic, prosperous timeline for the totality, where the healing is possible and you're constantly the lived example of that healing been able to be actualized. I love you infinitely. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'll be making more content on subjects like this soon. And please share the video. If it resonated with you, comment, like, subscribe, share the video. This is what we need right now. We need this type of healing lucidity around the world. I love you. Thank you.